Hey Mena Warriors, it's Kate and welcome back to my channel where I share a weekly video with you every Monday about something related to menopause. Today I'm actually talking about perimenopause. What is it? What can you expect from it? How to identify whether you're in perimenopause and some of the things to look out for. So firstly, I wanted to go into this subject in a bit more detail because when I went through my perimenopause, I was much, much younger. So I was through the entire thing by about the age of 41. So I was getting various symptoms, had gone to see my doctor, in fact, saw the nurse, and she said I was far too young to be in perimenopause. And by that stage, I think I was probably in my mid to late 30s. I'm 53 now, so it's a long time ago. But I'm way beyond my perimenopausal years now. But I speak to so many women who literally think they're in perimenopause, they're getting the signs, they're getting the symptoms, and they are told flat out they are far too young. And there's a lot of us which this is happening to. So firstly, what is perimenopause? It's the transitional phase. So it's when your periods become more erratic. It's when your hormones are starting to fluctuate. Generally, your sort of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they're starting to go up and down a bit. And some days you might feel great, and other days you may feel absolutely rotten. And you could have a series of different symptoms. Everybody's different. For me, it started with terrible, terrible night sweats, literally drenching the bed every single night, having to change my clothes, having to lie on a towel, having to wash the bed pretty much every day. It was awful. And that went on for ages. It did start initially to get worse on the run up to a period. And then obviously my periods petered out and I was still left with the night sweats. Then I got really bad hot flushes, and to the stage where literally they would start and I would just drip with sweat. I'm not a sweaty person. And I remember talking to this professor once in this big academic facility, and he was a male professor, and it was awful. I could feel this hot flush coming on, and literally I was dripping down my back. I could feel it on my face. I didn't really have the confidence back then like I have now. So I'd have made a joke about it, sort of said, sorry, I'm having a volcanic eruption. Back in those days, I was just trying to sweat my way through it. And it was awful. It always also used to make you feel quite nauseous. So you may be getting the hot flushes. You might be noticing that your sleep is becoming more erratic. You might be getting more joint pain. You might be becoming more irritable, or literally having just anger bursts out of nowhere, silly little things that never used to bother you are now really, really affecting you. And it could be one of any other type of symptom as well. Those are the most common ones. Anxiety is one that you might find is creeping up on you as well. It tends to hit you, well, it certainly hit me in the early hours. I'm a psychotherapist. I specialize in anxiety as well as obviously my online health and fitness type of thing. And I was waking up in the early hours with this crushing sense of dread in my chest, and it used to sit so heavy, and I recognized it as anxiety and put it down to the fact it was my hormones that were affecting me. Just know that if you're getting the anxiety, if you're really struggling with the mood swings, the use of traditional antidepressants has been proven to not help low mood and anxiety in menopause. So just be aware of that, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll just go and get some antidepressants, or I'll get something to sort of alleviate my anxiety symptoms and help me sort of calm out a bit. It's not necessarily the best route. I have nothing against HRT. I don't take HRT myself. I've managed it with lifestyle changes, and I can wholeheartedly say that I know when I'm not looking after myself because my symptoms get worse. And I know when, I've just recently finished a gut inflammation 4-week program, my symptoms pretty much vanished. And then when I reintroduced like alcohol, they came back. So we have so much control at our fingertips about how we experience our journey through the perimenopause. You might be one of those people, you just don't want to make the effort. You don't want, and I don't mean make the effort in a negative way. You might be in a life situation where you just really feel like you can't take on anything else. So go and talk to your healthcare provider about the various options available to you for HRT. I feel very strongly I don't think I need it. I'm quite happy with as my life is right now, and I'm a firm believer that lifestyle changes are whether you take HRT or not, you should still be making these lifestyle changes, as in watching what you're eating, strength training, getting into nature, making sure you prioritize your sleep, because those are what a healthy human needs, full stop. So the average age of perimenopause is around sort of 40 to 44. But it can start much, much earlier. In fact, I've heard of a story of a girl who was 13 when she started to go through perimenopause. I think largely it tends to happen in your 30s, or it can happen in your 30s, and it can be as late as in your 50s as well. The average age, if you Google it, is around 40 to 44 years, and perimenopause can last from sort of 3-4 years to around about 8-10 years. So it is quite a large phase of your life. And if you can go into it prepared and understand what to expect, you are going to just equip yourself with being at the driver's seat rather than in the back seat, literally terrified because somebody else is driving the car far too fast and uncontrollably floor you. When you know the things that are going to help alleviate your symptoms, it gives you a real sense of control. And I think the way the sort of medical world is, it's almost... it's like a bit like pregnancy. It became medicalized, and it's a very natural process. Of course, there are times when intervention will save your life, it'll save your child's life, but on the whole, it is a natural process. Periods are a natural process. Menopause is a natural process, and there is this tendency to have it turned into a medical issue. And in a lot of instances, it doesn't need to be a medical issue. And when we can understand that it is a natural process that we can embrace and actually do things to help us, it really does give you a sense of ownership over it. And I really advise you to become your own best advocate around your menopausal journey, because we are all entirely unique. What suits your neighbor or your sister may not, or your mum may not suit you. We are all different, and it's really important that you are getting the support that you need that suits you where you're at. We all have different stressors in our life. Just as a quick aside, I'm not really going to go into stress in any great detail today, but stress has a massive impact on how you experience your menopausal symptoms, perimenopausal symptoms. If you can manage your stress, you are going to do yourself the biggest favor. And yes, that's very easy to say, and you might say, yeah, but my life is so stressful. There is always going to be stress out there. How we allow it to affect us is something that we do have control over. And while we don't have a complete blanket control, you know, I would like the off button sometimes as well. It's just like, yeah, I'm just going to forget about that right now, and it's not going to bother me for the rest of my life. Unfortunately, life is not like that. But when we can do things, incorporate things in our lifestyle that help us manage stress more effectively and help also to get rid of stress hormones, then we are doing ourselves a favor. So the physical changes you can expect are, you might be getting drier. So you might be having dry eyes. You might be noticing your skin is suddenly looking older. You might have a dry vagina. You know, it might be that sex has now become uncomfortable for you. As our estrogen levels fall, we do tend to, you know, our mucous membranes tend to dry up. So use things like, you know, not eye drops that have no preservatives in them. So they don't last for so long, but they are not going to, you know, irritate your eyes at all. But sometimes in the morning, if you wake up and they're so dry and scratchy, a couple of drops, hypermelose drops, something like that, can really help your eyes. And particularly if you work in the screen or at a screen for a large part of the day, maybe take some eye drops to work with you or wherever you're working, and use those regularly. You can also use those like spritzers, the atomizer sprays, just to continue to add some more moisture into your skin. Make sure you're eating healthy fats, drinking lots of water. That's going to help to keep you lubricated. Obviously, there's also loads of different types of lubes that you can use down below. I think something like olive oil or coconut oil is a natural alternative. So if you've got a dry vagina, it might be worth exploring those, or indeed go to the supermarket or have a chat with your healthcare provider. If it's something that is really causing you a lot of distress, you can, and you don't want to have like HRT per se, you can have a topical estrogen based gel or cream. And so it's a cream that you insert, and that will help to keep the lining of the vaginal wall stronger, because as we go through the menopause, our skin gets thinner, our membranes get thinner, and it will help to keep the walls of your vagina stronger and it'll also create some lubrication for you. So just bear that in mind. There's a lot, I think a lot of women are embarrassed to chat about it, and there are a lot of things that you can do. So make sure that you're having a chat with your healthcare provider about that. Bone density is another big one, and joint pain. I found that by cutting out caffeine and introducing vitamin E supplement, that really helped get rid of the joint pain that I was feeling. I used to get out of bed and walk like the Tin Man in the morning before he'd been oiled. And by cutting out caffeine and also having the vitamin E with the 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienols, you'll probably think, what the heck is she talking about? Go on Amazon, have a look, just make sure it's got the 4 and the 4 tocopherols and tocotrienols, and that is the best supplement for you. I don't recommend taking supplements long term, but try it and see. And if it works, keep going. You might be able to sort of stop after you've had one batch of it. I did. I had, I think about, it was a 3-month supply of supplements of vitamin E. Then I stopped it, and I found I was absolutely fine after that. So give it a try and see how you get on with that. Collagen's really important. I do take collagen every day, in actual fact. It's helps to maintain a youthful appearance, and it also helps your joints and your the cartilage in your joints and your bone structure too. So just going into bones, our bone density does decrease as we go through perimenopause. What happens is the cells that build our bones are not quite as active, and the cells that gobble up bones, which play a very important role because they get rid of, you know, disease cells as well, but those tend to be more active than the ones building the bones. So that necessarily means that our bones are being gobbled away slowly by our own bodies. If you drink a lot of sodas, avoid high fructose corn syrup. That is one of the worst things that you can eat or drink for your bone health. Basically, it means that you're peeing out your calcium. So people say, oh, well, I'll just take a calcium supplement. That actually is not the way to look at it. You want to cut out the things that are making you pee out calcium from your body. Sodas are one of those things. High fructose corn syrup is also in lots of like ketchups, jars of pasta sauce, mayonnaise, salad dressings, that sort of thing. So just be really mindful about, avoid high fructose corn syrup. Google it, because it does come under different names as well. And food manufacturers are very fast to hide the things that are in the public eye, but they still keep it in their products. They just call it something different. So just be very, very aware of high fructose corn syrup. As far as your bone health goes, it's terrible. By strength training regularly, you're going to help to fill in the gaps in your bones. You're going to keep your joints supple. You're going to help to stimulate the synovial fluid in your joint capsules. Most of our joints are synovial joints. And by strength training, you're strengthening your bones as well. So, and also you're maintaining a healthy biomechanical function, because if we don't use our muscles, as estrogen falls, cortisol, one of our stress hormones, rises. Cortisol breaks down tissue. It's very useful in the body in the right amount, but when we've got more than we need, plus basically it's a stressful time of life, it gobbles up some of our bones, but it also gobbles up some of our muscles in a very simplistic way. So just be aware of the fact that you want to be doing low impact workout, low impact strength training, and you will find that will help get rid of belly fat, because you're not spiking your cortisol. So if you used to do like a lot of cardio, cut back on the cardio and do more strength training and keep it low impact, and keep it probably, I would, you know, if you find like burpees challenging, just do them low impact. If you find push-ups challenging, do them against a wall, or make sure you put your knees down. Do things that don't make you feel too stressed doing them, but challenge you a little bit. The great thing about this time of life is that you can probably do exercise for a lesser amount of time and get better results. And by starving yourself, because most of us think, oh, putting on weight, I'll just eat less, that actually is a stressor to the body. Again, just going back to that 4-week gut healing system that I've just done, I've been eating loads and I weighed less. It worked incredibly well. It's just because I was eating the right stuff, but just make sure that you are feeding your body. Our bodies need food. And yes, there is this argument that as we get older, we need fewer calories. That applies to a degree, but also calories are not created equal. So, you know, the traditional calorie counting weight reduction programs, Some of those calories that you're allowed to eat are going to put your body into stress, which is going to set off a chemical reaction, which is going to spike all sorts of different hormones, which are going to make you hang on to fat. If you're eating the right food and plenty of it, your body just lives in harmony. You'll have energy. You're not setting off those negative chemical reactions. So you really have to take a holistic approach to just feeding your body with food that a human would want to eat. Not packaged, not preservatives, not refined sugars, but plenty of food, plenty of healthy food. Food is really fun. And when you eat well and enjoy the treats, I love wine, I love beer, I love cider, I love a whiskey. I don't live a life of, you know, polish my halo every morning and aren't I a good girl? I never touch any of the bad stuff. It's all about balance, and you are allowed your treats. I made a banana cake last week. I've been eating my banana loaf, but it's, you know, that is a treat. And I think it's keeping the treats in the treat box rather than letting them become an absolute regular. But again, when you're eating well, it has a really positive impact on your energy levels and your fat, how well you burn fat. And then, of course, you know, it's fueling your body with what it needs. Plus, it's supporting your hormones. So just be really mindful that restriction is a stressor, and eating the right stuff is going to really, really benefit you. Another physical change is you might find that you're not having a period for a while, and then all of a sudden you have one, and you might have then 2 or 3 back to back quite closely, or you know, you'll just have changes in your menstrual regularity. For me, twice this happened. To be called postmenopausal, you have to have 12 months without a period. I'd gone for about 11 and a half months, and then I had a really, really heavy period, and that happened to me twice. So 1 year, 11 and a half months, bam, and then another year, 11 and a half months, and bam. So I had to wait a good 2 years before I was allowed to call myself postmenopausal. Your menopausal day is 1 day. It literally marks 12 months since you no longer had a period, and beyond that, you are postmenopausal. Emotional changes are likely to be more irritability, greater mood swings, anxiety, allowing stress, or stress has more of a debilitating effect on you. It's almost like you lose some of your resilience to stress. Just make sure that if you're in a partnership, that you're really open with your partner, that you're really open with your family, not so that you can, you know, stomp around like a 2-year-old having a tantrum, but so that they can support you when you're not feeling your best. You know, maybe take up a bit of the jobs that you do around the house, possibly, if you do jobs around the house. You know, allow them to support you and understand how you're feeling. Particularly if you have an intimate relationship, it's really important during this time of life that you're able to communicate freely with your partner, because like I say, if things dry up, your libido is likely to change. It might reduce drastically. And, you know, it's very important that you're having that open communication so that your partner can understand how you're feeling and that you can find a solution between the two of you. I think communication is absolutely the most important thing to help support you throughout these emotional changes. One thing that I rely on if I'm under a lot of stress, there's something going on at the minute and it's really playing on my mind, is I download an Audible book. So if I wake up at, say, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and I can't get back to sleep and my brain's gone into squirrel mode, which it has a tendency to do, I listen to an Audible book, and it's just a story. And I normally I put it on for 30 minutes because you can set a timer so it automatically fades out. And normally sort of 10, 15 minutes, I've gone back to sleep. Occasionally, I've ended up listening to 3 hours, but then I think, well, at least I was listening to a story rather than lying there stressing about the thing that I'm worried about. So it's a really, really good option to have in your arsenal. Obviously, if you have a partner, you're going to need to listen to earplugs, and if you've got your earplugs in, or your earbuds, whatever they're called, AirPods, don't have your phone or device, if you're attached to your device, do not have it plugged into the mains charging, because there have been incidences when there's been an electrical surge, and because you're plugged in through your ears, it's actually electrocuted and killed some people. So just be mindful of that. Just as a little caveat, it's unlikely to happen to you, but I would hate for it to happen. Self-reflection is something also that I think will support your emotional journey through the perimenopause. Journaling. So journaling has this really cathartic effect. If you're writing on paper, my entire work life is digitized. I use digital all the time. However, If it is for therapeutic purposes, there is something about using your hand and a pen and paper to write down your concerns, your thoughts, maybe your goals for the day, maybe some positive affirmations, but just writing it out has a very beneficial effect of reducing the load that you're carrying up here in your brain about whatever's going on. So maybe make journaling a daily routine for you in the morning or at lunchtime or in the evening. Do it when it suits you best. A lot of people say, oh, I start every morning with my journaling. Choose what works best for you. If your mornings are chaotic, journal at night when you might have like 15 minutes to yourself in low light, and you can just surmise the day and plan what's going to happen tomorrow and get any worries that are in your head, get them onto paper, and it will have a positive impact on how you manage your stress. It also gives you a sense of control, but it will also help to alleviate some of the sting of that stress when you're going to sleep, and hopefully you'll get a good night's sleep. A lot of people ask, can you have a blood test to check your hormone levels to see if you're in perimenopause? Not really, because they're very inconclusive, because through perimenopause, your hormones are all over the shop. And so you might have a test in the morning that suggests one thing, and then you may have a test in the afternoon that suggests something entirely different. So really, it's a blood test is fairly inconclusive. I think the most important thing to do is consider, where are you at? Are you having hot flushes? Are you having night sweats? Are you feeling more irritable? Are your periods becoming erratic? And if they are, and you don't fit the average age that your doctor says you should fit into, the chances are you're perimenopausal. There's not an awful lot, knowing that, there's still not an awful lot that you can change, except for support your lifestyle, reduce stress, prioritize sleep, cut down on the things that you shouldn't eat and drink so much of, and focus on lots of vegetables, lean, healthy protein, healthy fats. Fruit's good. People say, oh, I shouldn't eat fruit because it's got fructose in it. No, you should eat fruit. It's full of antioxidants. It's full of vitamins and minerals. And to be honest, when you eat the fruit, you're eating the entire thing. So it's got lots and lots of fiber in it. That fiber slows down the release of the sugars in your blood. Fruit is good. Probably berries, I would say, have a higher nutritional profile than a banana, but they all have their own, they're all full of their own little assets. So fruit is great. If you only like bananas, eat a bloody banana, and don't worry too much about what somebody said on Google, that bananas are high in sugar. They're one of the more sugary fruits, but it's not going to kill you. It's a heck of a lot better to eat a banana than a Mars bar or something else like that. The other thing you can do, as well as journaling your thoughts, is to track your symptoms. So I suggest to do this over a course of 2 weeks, and think, okay, so today, oh gosh, you got lots of hot flushes, you're feeling a bit anxious, you're feeling antsy, you maybe had an argument. What happened yesterday? How did you sleep? Have you been to the toilet? How much water did you drink yesterday? What did you eat? What have you been eating over the last 24-hour period? And when you track it, you'll find patterns will appear. Absolutely promise you. Things like spicy foods, sugary foods, caffeine, alcohol can trigger hot flushes. So be aware of that. But you will find, I mean, that's just a very simple one, but you will find that different types of food will react differently to you. Like I said, we're all completely unique. So when you can keep a tracker of your mood, and the reason I ask, have you been to the toilet recently, is if we're constipating and stodged up, that is not good for us. Eventually we're filling ourselves with toxins that shouldn't be there. Our digestion does get sluggish through the perimenopause. So that could be one of your symptoms that you're noticing: more bloating, just more constipation, or more just abdominal pain. Again, that is something that exercise is going to help alleviate, because it helps keep you moving. The gut healing system, again, that I used was great for that. I was getting quite a bit of bloating, and we do just have more of a tendency to inflammation as we go through the menopause and perimenopause. Our digestive system does slow down. The peristalsis, it becomes a bit more sluggish. And so you may start to develop sensitivities to certain foods. And that's why, again, I will put a link to that gut healing system below in case you want to explore it more. it is transformational. You'll find also that you'll lose weight very fast on it. Most ladies lose between sort of 6 and 8 pounds in the first week because they are eliminating foods that are causing inflammation in their body, which is causing them to hang on to fluid and to gas and to fat. When our bodies have got toxins in them and things that are causing imbalance, it's much more difficult to lose weight. So if you have got excess weight, then consider doing the 4-week gut protocol. It's just 4 weeks. You will learn so much about your body. You'll feel incredible. If you've got excess fat to lose, you will lose some excess fat. And it's very, very interesting thing to go through. I found it eye-opening and highly recommend it. It's something I'm going to do at least 4 times a year. I'm actually just following the maintenance version of it right now because I loved it so much. I've sort of employed it as my sort of for the rest of my life type way of eating. I eat more doing this 4-week gut system than I did before. And I've been losing weight and I've been sleeping better and I'm less anxious. Like I say, there's something majorly stressful going on in my life at the moment. And it's helping to support me. And it also gives me a sense of ownership because I know that I'm looking after myself. So it's almost like, yeah, it's like a bit of a pat on the back for me, to me, which is helping me get through the stuff that I'm trying to get through at the minute. So how can you prepare for a healthy transition? I've mentioned exercise already. I've mentioned nutrition already. Stress and anxiety, I take a daily adaptogen herbs. In fact, I've just had them on for today. Adaptogen blend. Adaptogen herbs are herbs and mushrooms that help us adapt to stress. They help us regulate our stress hormones, our cortisol levels. So for me right now, I'm actually, some days I have 2 sachets of them because they really help to stabilize that stress response. They do help you sleep better. If you struggle with sugar cravings, they are brilliant at getting rid of sugar cravings. If you're trying to reduce your alcohol, they are brilliant at helping you reduce your alcohol because they just give the body what it needs. Because often we reach for a glass of wine or beer in the evening because often our blood sugars are not as they should be. This stuff regulates all that. It's also got pre and probiotics. It's got digestive enzymes, so it's really good for your gut health. It also forms part of that 4-week gut healing system. So adaptogen herbs, the ones I take are ashwagandha, cordyceps, astragalus, schisandra, maytake, maca, and there's 2 more. Schisandra, I don't think I said that one, and reishi. I don't think I said reishi either. So, but there's that blend of 8 plus things like camu, acerola cherry, just really, really, they're literally bursting. They are the world's healthiest superfoods that you can eat, and they're all in this blend that I take every single day. It's also got power greens in and that sort of stuff. So about the equivalent of 6 bags of salad. So it's got lots of really, really good stuff in it, and fiber and protein, etc. So do consider adaptogen herbs for helping you manage your stress effectively. Deep breathing is one of the easiest things that you can do. As an anxiety specialist, it's one of the first techniques I teach people. They look at me as like I've fallen off another planet. But just breathe in slowly through your nose, hold it for a few seconds, and then breathe out more slowly through your mouth. Do that a few rounds. You cannot be stressed and relaxed at the same time. By deep breathing, you are stimulating your relaxation response. So yeah, in a full-out panic attack, it's going to be a little bit tricky to get your breathing under control, but you can do it. In a full-out panic attack, if you are struggling with something like that, you might think this sounds completely wacky. If you're able to, go run, just sprint somewhere, because it gets rid of that, it burns up that stress hormone, that stress response. If you can't sprint, try some jumping jacks on the spot. If you're able to do jumping jacks, just do something that just gets your heart going. And you might think, no, my heart's going crazy already. You need to help to get rid of the stress hormones in your body. And it does sound counterintuitive, it works. The other thing is, if you are not able to do those and you don't want to try that, is to splash or plunge your face into cold water. You'll see on Google, they say, oh, fill a bucket with ice and it needs to be really cold. Just cold water will do. Just around your neck, on your face, and if you're able to, hold your nose and put your face in to cold water for a short period of time. Again, it has a bit like it works like a reset button. That is really, really beneficial too, and it's really good for your skin as well. Other things are like meditation. You can do some meditation. again, take the worry away from what do you need to chant, what do you need to look at, what do you need to listen to. You can just sit, doesn't need to be cross-legged, even lie, and just observe your breathing. Just listen to your breath going in and out. If you're lucky enough to live near running water, focus on the sound of the running water. If you find it easier to listen to a pre-recorded thing on YouTube, it could be a chant or a sound, do that. Find what works best for you. Start out with something easy. If you want to become a meditation guru, that's going to naturally happen. Just start with something that you can manage yourself. And again, just do not worry about getting it perfect or spot on or doing the right thing. You can't do it wrong. You just, I think, and also it's not about just completely creating headspace. I'm sure, yes, the gurus can do that. For most of us, that's an impossibility to even achieve. The thing is to allow the thoughts to just go through. So rather than a thought coming and you think, oh, and then your day and now has been dictated by this one thought that you've then planned this thing around, and all of a sudden your meditation, you forgot you were meditating. Just let it go. Just, oh yeah, that came over. Okay, go. And then you sit there for a bit longer and says, oh, bloody, new thought comes in, just let it go. And it's hard. I'm useless at meditation. I am a terrible squirrel brain, but exercise for me does it. Time out in nature does it for me. And you have to find what works for you. You might be like me and think, I'm not into meditation. I'm not a great fan of yoga, but I do love Pilates, and I do love the bar program that I'm doing at the minute because it gets great results and it's all low impact. And it's just like a hug to my heart. And but you have to find what works best for you. So avoid comparison, take steps, and just try maybe and incorporate one thing a week. And then once you've got that, incorporate another thing next week. I would definitely suggest you start tracking immediately if you are really struggling with your symptoms, because it's going to reveal directly what is causing and making your symptoms worse. Focus on sleep. You might have to be bossy with yourself for a while. That means dimming the lights, ideally half an hour to an hour before bedtime, go low light mode, avoid screens, television, phone, computer, at least for an hour before bed. I know a lot of people fall asleep in front of the television, but then you wake up and you've got to go to bed and it disturbs you. Ideally read a book or listen to a book. I mean, I use my eyes a lot through the day, and I love book reading, but I've actually started to listen to Audible books these days, and I just lie in my bed flat, completely flat. I broke my neck years ago, so it's part of my neck sort of maintenance health thing. I lie completely flat and listen to the book I put it on for half an hour, and normally I manage 10 minutes and I've fallen off to sleep. And it's a really nice way of going to bed. Try not to eat too late and get to bed so you've got, ideally, I mean, it's different. Everybody, yeah, some people work shifts, but if you can, try and get a couple of hours in before midnight, because those are worth a lot compared to the hours after midnight. But make sure you're in bed for long enough to try and get sort of 7 to 8 hours of sleep. You may need a little bit less, you may need a little bit more, but on the whole, I think the majority of us need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. People used to say to me, oh, I can manage on 4.5 hours of sleep a night. I think, I'm not entirely sure you really can. And Maggie Thatcher used to, and I've mentioned Margaret Thatcher before, Maggie Thatcher used to manage 4.5 hours of sleep, and she was the Prime Minister, and she died of Alzheimer's. When we are sleeping, we have something called glial cells in our brains, and it's called the glymphatic system. So the glial cells flush the brain, they clean the brain out during our sleeping hours. They don't flush for literally half an hour to 2 hours. They are flushing for about 90% of the time when you're asleep. The whole point of the flushing is to get rid of those plaques that can eventually build up, that become the Alzheimer plaques, those amyloid plaques. So while sleep is great for you on every level, just prioritize sleep as well as, as a way of looking after your brain. You'll help to combat brain fog if you prioritize your sleep. Brain fog is a massive thing through perimenopause. It's something that really affected me. I live a very busy life. I've got 2, 3 businesses that I run. And I'm also a single mum. I've got a garden, I've got a house to run. There's a lot that goes on. And brain fog for me was a real toughie to try. It's like mental arithmetic for me. I know if I sort of like, of course I can add 2 and 2, but if there's like, if I'm writing it down on paper, I can see it and I can work out what the sum is, or whatever it is. In my mind, mental arithmetic is just impossible. And I was finding the same thing happen to my thought. So I knew I had a thought and I'd had a moment of clarity, and then it's almost like it became completely jumbled. And I couldn't sometimes even remember what I'd thought just a few seconds before, which seemed such a great idea. And it was really frustrating. I did start to take creatine, which I've never actually mentioned before because I use myself as a guinea pig. And I've taken creatine now for 2 packets worth. So I've probably been taking it for about 4 months. And it is known, supposedly, to help with, obviously, muscle sculpting. I don't actually think it made any difference to my muscles, in all honesty, but it did. There's quite a lot of evidence to suggest, or studies to suggest, that it helps with brain fog and helps your brain clarity, and that it's something that we ought to be taking as we get older. Like I said, I'm on my 2nd pack of creatine at the minute. I get just the powder that I scoop into my coffee or my superfood shake or something. I actually think it has helped with my brain fog. So I think I've been on long enough to notice. And there was one day I was thinking, my brain is definitely clearer. And I put that down to creatine. It's not expensive. I wish I knew if you want that company that I get mine from, just message me and I'll just send you, or leave a comment, and I'll send the link to it. I'm not affiliated with them, but it was a really, really good value creatine, and they've got a really useful YouTube channel that goes with it to support all the various FAQs and things that they get. I just felt that there are some companies out there which I've seen which charge a fortune for the same stuff. It's just pure creatine. You can't really go wrong. So if you want that link, let me know, and try it, see if it helps you as well. But I noticed, for me, I'm pretty sure it was the creatine that made the difference with brain clarity. So anyway, I hope, if you try it, I hope it helps you as well. It wasn't immediate. It's probably after about 6 weeks that I noticed some clarity coming back, but it was really exciting. I really felt like I had energy back in my brain, rather than this sort of sluggish, rotten cabbage patch. Felt like, Kate was coming back. Perimenopause really is a multi-dimensional experience, and it can take a multi-dimensional approach. So do your lifestyle stuff. Make sure you're supporting yourself as much as you can. Talk to your healthcare professional if you feel you need additional support. Confide in those who are closest to you, particularly intimate partners. Let them know what you're going through. There's nothing wrong with you. It's a completely natural experience. All of us lucky enough to get to this age are going to go through it. But it can be a fairly tumultuous time, just because so many things are happening to you. You're changing physically, you're changing emotionally. It can be quite a stressful time of life. You might have aging parents that you're looking after. The dynamics of our significant relationships change. We might be becoming empty nesters and dealing with that. And there's a lot that can be, it would make a normal person without menopause, their life, it would be stressful. So don't sniff at it. You are having a very real experience, and you might need talking therapy to help that as well. You just to sort of come to terms with your mindset around it, your approach around it, your self-limiting beliefs that might be affecting you, and your internal dialogue. As a psychotherapist, I'm constantly talking to people about their internal dialogue, because often we don't realize that we're not really helping ourselves. So again, if you want some psychotherapy with me, you need some help with anxiety, just leave me a comment or send me a private message. Perhaps message me on Instagram, because that's private, at Kate Hartley UK, and you can find me there. I'll drop a link to my Instagram below this. On YouTube, it's great to leave a comment, but if it's a more private thing, you might want to just find me on Instagram or on Facebook, Kate Hartley UK, and leave me, send me a message there if you want to chat further about how I can support you, either with anxiety, with your limiting beliefs, or a holistic approach through menopause. So thank you for your company. I hope this has been helpful for you. Make sure if you've not done so already, click the subscribe button so that you don't miss future episodes. There's a little bell icon. You can always click that and that will actually notify you when I've shared a new episode. But they're 10 a.m. every single Monday. If you've got anything that you'd like me to cover in a future episode, please just drop it in the comments or message it to me. More than happy. In fact, I love it when you drop a comment and say, oh, could you please talk about this? Even if I've addressed it in a previous video, don't feel like you've got to go through the entire playlist just to double check. Just drop it below. If I've got one that I did recently, I will link that to you straight away. But things change all the time. New things are coming out, new studies are coming out, and it is an ever-evolving situation. So I'm more than happy to talk about what you might be struggling with in particular, and and address it specifically for you. So, and I'll keep you completely anonymous. I would never say anybody's name. It is all private, but let me know if you've got anything you'd like me to cover. So again, thank you so much for your company. I hope you have a great week, and I'll look forward to catching you again next week.